So congratulations on making it to Chapter 6 of the Complete iOS Developer course. Let's take a quick moment to see how far you've come. Way back in Section 3, we saw how to install Xcode, we played around with the Xcode interface, and we dragged in some buttons and labels and made our basic cat ears app. Then we dived into Swift, looking at variables, arrays, dictionaries, if statements, loops, and a lot more, as well as making our fairly complicated IsItPrime app. Then, in the previous section, we looked at navigation, storage, and live content, and we made a stopwatch, a times table app, our to-do list app, and then we looked at accessing web content, and we manipulated strings to develop our What's the Weather app. So that really is a huge amount that you've already covered. In this section, we're looking at media, so we're going to start by looking at images, and then we'll go on to look at maps and getting the user's location, and finally we'll see how we can work with sound and music within iOS. So without further ado, let's create our first app of this section, which is going to be a basic animation. So let's go through the usual process within Xcode of creating a new project, and it's going to be all the standard settings. So single view application, we'll call this animations. Everything else is the default. And I'm just going to save it there on the desktop. Okay, here we go. Now, if we're going to be animating an image, we of course need an image to animate. So I'm going to get my image from Heather's Animations, which is a great little website with a lot of free images and animations that you can use. I'm going to choose that little jumping alien over there. So there he is, hidden at the top. Of course, you can choose any one of these other ones or something completely different. I'm going to click Save Image As. So that was a control click and Save Image As. And then I'm just going to call it alien.gif. Okay. Now I'm going to click on the file I've downloaded, and that will open up in Preview. And Preview has a great feature of actually allowing you to view all of the different frames of a GIF animation. And then we can just export all of these individual frames by control clicking on them and clicking Export As. And then I would recommend calling them something like Frame 1, and also selecting PNG. Probably can't quite see it there on the frame, but select PNG and click Save. And then just scroll down and do the same with the other frames. So Export As. And then Frame 2 and PNG. And click Save. And I'm going to go through the rest of these. I'm going to pause the video so that you don't need to watch me do all of that. Okay, that's now all done. So I'm going to jump back over to Xcode, and I'm just going to set you a quick challenge because it's been a while since we worked with images. And that is, can you create an image view in your storyboard and then import all of the images to the app and set frame 1 to be the actual image displayed on the image view? Go for it. Okay, I hope that went well. I'm going to start on main storyboard. And then down here, I'm going to type in image. There's our image view. So I'll drag that in. We definitely don't need it that large. So I'm going to make it a bit smaller. There we go. It can be up the top left. We're really not worried about layout here. And then to add our images, we just jump over to the Finder, and I'm going to drag and drop those 5 frames into our app file storage there. And I want to select copy items if needed because I want to copy them over, and then everything else we can leave as the defaults. There we go. And then to select my image, remember sometimes if we click the drop down just after we've imported them, they don't appear there. So let's click away and then click back on the storyboard just to refresh that, and then we should find that we can see the five files, sorry, and select one of them for our image. There we go. So there's our 5 files. So selecting frame 1, fantastic. I am feeling that I just want to center that slightly, so let's just change our view controller to have an iPhone 6 size screen, and then we can center our image for that. Okay, so if we want to animate this image, we're going to need to be able to update the actual image for this image view using code. And that's actually quite easy to do. I'm going to create a button and I'll just drag it in here. And I'll change the text to update image. And now we want it so that when we tap this button, the image updates. And for the moment, we'll just update it from frame 1 to frame 2. So nice and simple. So we're going to need to create an IB action for our button. So I just clicked the double view there. And then let's control drag from our button to our view controller.swift. And then we want to create a button, sorry, an action. And I'll call it update image. There we go. We're also going to need an outlet for this image so that we can refer to it. So again, I've control dragged and I'll call it alien image. And it's an outlet rather than an action. That time. Okay, now we don't need any more outlets or actions, so let's get rid of what we don't need, keep our screen tidy. And then all we need to do is add our code to update the image, and for now we're going to use frame2.png. So we want to update it to frame 2. And we can do that with just one line of code. So we refer to our image first, so alien image dot image, because it's the image that we want to update, and we want to set that to a UI image, and we want to use UI image named because we're going to set the name of the image manually, and the name that we want is frame2.png. So this command UI image essentially creates an image, and if we use the named parameter here, then it will create an image from an actual image file, and then this bit here sets that image to the image property of the alien image view. Now, if I didn't lose you completely by saying the word image about 15 times in the last sentence, hopefully that made sense. If not, just go back and watch it again, but hopefully it's fairly clear overall what we're doing here. So let's just run that. And we should, of course, find that when we tap the button, the image will update from frame 1 to frame 2. And here we go. So let's tap update image, and there we go. Our image is updated with the next frame in our animation. So now I'm going to set you with a little challenge. What I want to do is to create the illusion of an animation by just making the user tap on this button again and again and again, and that will always loop to the next frame in the sequence. And of course, when you get to frame 5, we're going to want to loop that back to frame 1. And that's how we're going to create our kind of false animation here. So see if you can do that using the code that we've got so far. Good luck. I hope you managed that. The way I'm going to do it is to create a variable which I'll call counter, and I'll initially set it to have a value of 1. And that's the variable that will keep track of which frame we're on at any given time. So here time the button is pressed, generally I'm going to want to add 1 to counter, which we do with counter ++. And that is the case as long as, of course, counter is not 5. Because if counter is 5, I don't want to get to 6, I want to go back to 1. So let's say if counter is equal to 5, then we'll set counter back to 1, and if not, then we'll add 1 to our counter, just like this. So that will give us a sequence of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. And then we just need to pop that into our image name, and I'll do that by using a backslash and brackets, and then counter. There we go. I hope you came up with a solution similar to that, or possibly even more elegant. Let's now run that, and we should find that every time we tap the button, it moves to the next frame in the sequence and then loops round when we get to the end. So it should, if we tap it pretty fast, actually give us the illusion of a kind of stop motion animation. Here we go. Let's give it a try. So update. There we go. Fantastic. Strangely satisfying. Wonderful. So that's how you update images using code. Of course, if we want to create a proper animation, we don't want to have to force the user to tap the screen manically in order to achieve that. So we're going to want to do that automatically, and we'll find out how to do that in the next video.